storm's arrival.
We were already expecting about 12 to 20 inches of rain.
The huge Category 4 hurricane made landfall in southwest Florida. Federal help is Florida bound.
Lots of literally tractor trailers, 50-foot trucks full of sheltering materials
as FEMA scrambles to get help to those hardest hit. And plane problems in Broward County despite being far from the storm center. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello South Florida, I'm Kenya Cardone.
And I'm Paloma Pimentel. Today is Thursday, September 29th, 2022.
Live from the South Florida Media Network's Biscayne Bay studios in North Miami, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
Ian making an ocean exit before aiming for a second U.S. landfall along the Atlantic coast. Ian is now no longer a hurricane after raining itself out over central Florida overnight.
But as the network's Alexa Velez reports, it was a strong Category 4 hurricane when it struck the Fort Myers area, much more powerful and further south than previously thought.
Holy, how is this possible?
Ian caused a nationwide blackout in Cuba Tuesday, and now Florida's dealing with mass power outages.
Parking garage that we're still in right now with no power is it was buckling, it was shaking.
Schools, supermarkets, airports, and theme parks across the state have closed. Sarasota's mayor deciding to pull police officers from the city streets due to the dangerous conditions.
The Caloosahatchee River has flowed through the bottom floor of this house, and we're safe on the second floor.
The storm packing winds and rains that officials warn will cause catastrophic floods and life-threatening storm surge. Although Hurricane Ian didn't pass directly over South Florida, we have still endured damages from strong wind gusts and heavy rains causing floods.
We were already expecting about 12 to 20 inches of rain. Some places could see up to 30 inches. So stay home, stay safe.
Reporting for South Florida Media Network, I'm Alexa Velez.
Alexa mentioned damage here in South Florida, and this morning, Broward County Airport is assessing the damage left behind by tornadoes. Officials say at least 2 tornadoes occurred between 7:15 and 8 p.m. 2 days ago, damaging aircraft and a few hangars at North Perry Airport in Pembroke Pines. South Florida was on a tornado watch until early yesterday morning.
Help on the way from FEMA and from out-of-state electrical workers, and as Lydia Delgado from our DC Bureau reports, it's coming from American Red Cross.
The American Red Cross, National Capital, and Greater Chesapeake region sent more than 300 disaster relief workers to the Sunshine State as part of a multi-state effort to help in preparing for the storm's arrival and provide any assistance needed afterwards.
Among those arriving out of state to lead the team of humanitarians is the Red Cross NCGC Regional CEO Dale Coons. Coons told NBC4 Washington that its team is ready to provide essential supplies to Floridians.
We have lots of literally tractor trailers, 50-foot trucks full of sheltering materials to help support folks who will be evacuating. We have blankets and we have meals and water all ready to go.
According to the National Hurricane Center, the storm is expected to cause life-threatening storm surge, catastrophic winds, and flooding in the Florida Peninsula. With the risk of property loss and livelihood, the Red Cross is also prepared to offer emotional support.
We have disaster mental health folks who are trained in trauma around disasters, who are there to help you, who know sort of how to have that conversation, how they know what you're going through. I promise you this is not their first deployment.
The Red Cross isn't the only emergency response team in the D.C. area to send its own down to Florida. 45 members of the Fairfax County Urban Search and Rescue Team, which specializes in natural disasters, were also deployed. I'm Lydia Delgado in Washington, D.C. for the South Florida Media Network.
A legal team suing former President Trump is changing its schedule this morning after a deposition was rescheduled because of the hurricane. Donald Trump and his family face a class action lawsuit after being charged with deception and fraud to promote scam businesses. The president refused to move it out of Florida, and the lawyers refused to fly into Florida for tomorrow's deposition. It is going to be rescheduled.
Recent polls reveal voters may not want neither President Biden nor former President Trump as nominees for the 2024 presidential election. Victoria Duran from our DC Bureau reports from the White House.
With Biden facing low approval ratings and Trump under continued federal investigation, a recent poll reveals that majorities from both political parties may be considering different nominees for the 2024 presidential election.
A poll conducted by ABC News and Washington Post shows that 56% of Democrats want somebody other than Joe Biden as a Democratic nominee, with only 35% in favor of Biden. Republicans are split 47 to 46% on whether Donald Trump should be their nominee.
It would be nice to see a younger person up there for a little bit of a change. I feel like Trump was quite old and Biden was quite old.
Biden has not yet announced whether he plans to run for re-election, saying recently that it was too early to make that decision. Trump was expected to officially announce his re-election campaign ahead of the midterm elections, but has not so far. Another poll by PBS found that a majority of Americans from both sides of the political aisle don't want Trump to run. The poll also revealed a slim majority think that Trump should be officially charged with a crime.
I think the nation, I don't think that we have the same confidence in him that we did when he was voted in, and even that we did in 2020.
The survey was conducted among 1,006 adults with a margin error of plus or minus 3 percentage points. Voter opinions may hint at difficulties for Biden and Trump if they run for re-election. Reporting for the South Florida Media Network in Washington, D.C., I'm Victoria Duran.
The Miami Marlins played the Mets over at New York in a 2-game series split. The Marlins had won their first game on Tuesday and took the first lead on their second by 4 runs. The Mets, however, were able to come back and the game in the regular 9 innings. It was on the extra 10th the Mets were able to score the game-winning run for the split. The score was Marlins 4, Mets 5. The Marlins move on to play the Brewers at Milwaukee Mill tonight at 7:40 p.m.
A midnight deadline looms to avoid a government shutdown.
That's still ahead, and so is the story.
In the north, we see a brutal dictatorship, rampant human rights violations, and an unlawful weapons program that threatens peace and stability.
A vice presidential visit at the area between democratic South Korea and communist North Korea. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life. But how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have something called prediabetes. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org.
If a natural disaster shows up at your doorstep, you can't just turn it away. That's why it's important to prepare for emergencies before they show up. Go to ready.gov/plan to find the tools and tips you need. And make a plan today.
You really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A historic visit by the Vice President. Today, Vice President Kamala Harris visited the demilitarized zone between North Korea and South Korea.
The visit comes one day after North Korea fired its 2 ballistic missiles off its east coast. Vice President Harris met with South Korea's president and discussed the importance of peace. She also had strong words for North Korea.
In the north, we see a brutal dictatorship, rampant human rights violations, and an unlawful weapons program that threatens peace and stability.
The vice president also met with service members and received a briefing from U.S. commanders.
Time is running out for lawmakers in Congress rushing to avoid a midnight government shutdown. Congress set up a series of votes for emergency funding, although both parties seem optimistic. Negotiations have taken up to their final hours. And even if lawmakers pass the current plan, the president still needs to sign off on it and will fund the government only up to December 16th.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Paloma Pimentel.
And I'm Kenya Cardone. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu.